Days after Trump's Justice Department indicted James Comey on flimsy charges, the president has a new target, accusing his own hand-picked former FBI Director Chris Wray of, quote, inappropriate behavior. As usual with this president, he did not explain what behavior was in fact inappropriate. But he did say he, quote, would think that DOJ is investigating Wray. For what exactly, we do not know. But it seems Trump is trying to connect Wray to a bogus story about the FBI's response on January 6th. On social media, the president falsely asserted that hundreds of FBI agents were in the crowd, quote, probably acting as agitators and insurrectionists. That, of course, is a lie. Trump's new conspiracy is so absurd that his current FBI director had to clean it up, with Kash Patel telling Fox agents were sent in after the riot started for, quote, crowd control. Joining us now, former chief spokesman for the Justice Department during the Obama administration, Matthew Miller. He also served as spokesperson for the State Department under President Biden. Also with us, Ambassador Norm Eisen, founder and executive chair of Democracy Defenders Fund.
Well, I just would like to note how freaking insane it is that the President of the United States seems to be getting his intel from Blaze, okay? Instead of, like, the briefings. You're the president! Like, what's okay? It's only Monday.
No, it's bad when Kash Patel has to go on television and say that's disinformation.
Correct.
Like, that is a new low when you are fact-checked by Kash Patel.
Can I just note that yesterday or last week it was James Comey. Today it's Christopher Wray at the FBI, the director that he picked, that he nominated. Matt, to me, it just really feels like that there's a real pattern here. Somebody does something you don't like tell you no, you get upset by the president, then the president puts you on his mental list or his actual list, and then figures out a way to get you back. And the get back for Chris Wray is now him floating his name out there like maybe he's next. I want to say I don't understand, yet Donald Trump has been wildly consistent here. And this is, one, dangerous, but it's not surprising, is the point.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I think we should expect the list to get longer. Look, the only reason Jim Comey was indicted last week, the only reason he was first in line is because they had a statute of limitations problem. They had a decision point where they had to bring that case. But they've had a number of other investigations into the president's perceived political opponents open for months. Lisa Cook, Adam Schiff. They just opened a new one into the Open Society Foundation, started and funded by George Soros. They have been systematically going through a list of enemies that the president has publicly and privately provided to the Department of Justice and opening the investigations into them. Now, I don't think there is evidence to support any of these cases. I think they will all meet the end I would expect in the Comey investigation, which is be dismissed, or if he does make it to trial, to ultimately be found not guilty. But there are massive implications for these investigations being launched and for cases being brought, even if no one is ever convicted. Implications for the individuals who run up millions of dollars sometimes in legal fees, who find it hard to find jobs, but also implications for our society. The goal of these cases is to scare people. It's to scare others in civil society, others who oppose the president, into not speaking out because they're worried that they might be next.
So, Counselor, in addition to this idea of making people afraid, to see everybody all scared and running for cover and hiding and not wanting to participate in the full-throated expectation of democracy by standing in the corner and being sheepish, as we've seen certain law firms and individuals around the country. There's also this idea of I guess it would be, absolution. The Trump administration trying to absolve themselves, to put themselves in a better position vis-a-vis January 6th, vis-a-vis all the other autocratic activities and behaviors they're engaging in, while at the same time, to your point, making people afraid by going after them and by imputing to them the offenses of the state. All right, speak to that idea that this is not just part one of making people afraid, but also sort of cleansing the palate from what we saw play out on January 6th and trying to say that didn't happen. What really happened is what James Comey did.
Well, what they've done is, in service of Donald Trump's revenge and rewriting history, they've turned Matt's old home, the Department of Justice, into the Department of Injustice. And it's not just the retaliation against the Comeys, investigation of A.G. Tish James, John Bolton, mentioned the Open Society Foundation. It's more than that. It's rewriting history, Michael. So why does he have to point a finger at what happened on January 6th? Because Donald Trump was responsible. He incited that mob. He wants to blame the FBI people causing Kash Patel to correct him. So they're trying to both change the past, but also to rewrite the history books. Donald Trump has 34 felony convictions. He's now going to go after the people who are responsible for that. The whole thing, the lies, the injustice, that is not democracy. That's not America. It's antithetical. No wonder in poll after poll, he is now the most unpopular among, or the most unpopular president. It's not what the American people put him in there. Right. They put him in there for jobs, for kitchen table issues, for their health care. We have a shutdown that he's driving now. No wonder those Democrats won't give their votes to tear away health care from millions of Americans. So the American people see what he's up to. They don't like it.
Right. Well, and to your point, Matt, they feel emboldened, this administration, by the fact that there was an indictment for James Comey. Take a listen to what the Vice President of the United States had to say about what is forthcoming.
Do you think there are more indictments coming, and do you think that's justified?
Well, there's certainly going to be more indictments coming over the next 3.5 years of the Trump administration, but we're always going to let the law drive this stuff and the facts of the case and not political motivations.
Okay, so there's, like, first of all, just an inherent inconsistency in what he's saying, which is you cannot guarantee an indictment if what you are doing is allowing the law to lead. I wanted to play that clip because it's a reminder, one, that now Vance is fully complicit in this deterioration of our justice system, and two, that if we had a list of potential grown-ups in the room, we can now cross his name off that list. Who then is left? I mean, you've seen the same reporting that I've seen, that Blanche said, don't go after Comey. It's not worth it to us. That you had his own attorney general saying, don't go after him. Trump has made his decision clear. Yeah,
there's no one that's left. Look, we spent the entire first Trump administration worrying about the president trying to take over the Justice Department, which we saw him consistently try to do. And we saw various attorneys general, first Jeff Sessions and then Bill Barr, at times give in and launch investigations that were wholly unjustified. But largely they held the line. They didn't bring indictments that weren't supported by the facts against the president's political opponents. When the president went to Bill Barr in the aftermath of the 2020 election and demanded for him to produce results on election fraud, Bill Barr said, that's impossible, I can't do it. And what we're seeing now is the leadership at the Justice Department not just do the president's bidding, but then force out anyone inside the Justice Department, whether they be career prosecutors, whether they be the president's own political appointees, if they can't produce the results that he wants. And unfortunately, we're talking about the Justice Department, but this is across the administration. You see the Education Department launching unjustified investigations against universities. You see the intel agencies revoking the security clearances of people who are the president's political enemies. You see the FCC and the FTC threatening licenses and threatening investigations into institutions that oppose the president. It is an across-the-board abuse of the rule of law to try to get anyone who opposes the president to shut up, and if they don't shut up, to try to take out their sources of funding, to try to jam them up with millions of dollars in legal bills and try to weaken their ability to oppose him in any way.
Well, and I do think that that is in fact the point, because they're doing this on purpose. They're trying to chill, whether they be future whistleblowers, future potential folks to hold them accountable, future people that when they are, I'm not even going to say when they're out of power because we need to deal with the situation right in front of us, but anyone that could potentially hold them accountable. And I think career people themselves are seeing how quickly they too could become defendants. It is not just, I mean, I think this administration is demonstrating they will go after anyone. An opponent, and I'm using quotes for the people at home, an opponent could be anybody that just I'd say I don't like. And then they could make things up about folks. Who's to say? I mean, they made it up about Lisa Cook. To be very clear, they made up a lie about Lisa Cook and fed the lie into the ether, and then had very reputable journalists even saying, well, I don't know, Lisa Cook has yet to speak to the allegations. Maybe she's guilty. It was a lie. So who's to say that they're not going to make up more lies about the career people within this Justice Department? This is a pattern.
We often talk about this, though. Yes, this is something that we have not seen in the United States in modern times, anything like this authoritarianism. But there is pushback. Look at what happened last week. They attacked Jimmy Kimmel. That was under severe duress. At Democracy Defenders Fund, we wrote a letter to Disney. We said, if you keep this up, you are involved in what appears to be a conspiracy. We'll sue you.
But what's the corollary with James Comey? Because you can't unsubscribe from, there can't be the same market response until a midterm.
Lindsay Halligan, the interim United States attorney, is still bound by the ethics rules. That was another letter we sent last week to the Department of Justice Inspector General, to the Office of Professional Responsibility, and to the Congress. And we said at Democracy Defenders Fund, bipartisan. The Obama ethics czar and the Bush ethics czar. We both signed these letters. If you do this, if the facts are as they appear, you are at risk of losing your law license.
That's an important.
So there's pushback.